This is Stacy McKibben with the Master Communicator podcast, where CEOs, senior leaders, and C-suite executives share their advice. It's 6 questions in 9 minutes because the best leaders know how to share their ideas concisely and quickly. Let's jump right in. Question number 1. In a few sentences, please tell me who you are and what you do.
Hi, I'm Abby Leibowitz. I'm CEO of Call Experts. We are a company that facilitates and provides customer service solutions for other brands. We are an outsource partner. We cover everything from answering phones to building interactive automated solutions to advising on value-based customer experience journeys. I'm a native of Charleston, South Carolina. That's where our company headquarters is. I'm a lifelong communicator and learner, and I'm a mom of 2 perfect kids, of course, at home, and a leader of a very strong group of fun and diverse people at work.
That's amazing. Well, I'll be so excited to hear your insights, especially coming from a mom of 2. I appreciate that perspective. We lead all the time, don't we?
Yes.
So speaking of that, what's the best thing about leading people from your perspective?
I think the best thing about leading people is watching them evolve, and that one day when they begin to bring you something you missed or didn't think of, and you see this light bulb go off for them. And that's when I feel like my influence is magnified. So I think that's rewarding, being that voice after observing them struggle through something that guides them, opening their minds to new options. So challenging them, when you enable someone to question things that they believe were too institutionalized to budge, you get to watch their world open up and adventure and progress really take off from there. So it's fun to look for things that they're better at than you also and get to dive in with them. And I think it's a great personal challenge for doing your own self-work. People.
I love the way you say that, to dive into things that they're better than you at. I think, as leaders, we often think we have to have all the answers. And sometimes it's about surrounding yourself with the right people who can do it better than you.
It's so nice when they know more.
It really is freeing in a lot of ways. So question number 3 for you. I often hear from other leaders, business would be great if it weren't for that pesky people part. I'm curious, what are your thoughts about that?
I think that is kind of impossible, right? So people are what enable, all of it to happen. The people, they make us grow. Like all the great machines that were built by people, they have to be tweaked by people. I was fortunate enough, I studied Ontological Leadership, which is leadership by the nature of being. So people have eyes and ears on you, and leading them requires accountability of yourself, which means you also have to be accountable to yourself to continue to grow and learn. So without people, that wouldn't happen. And since work is such a large chunk of our lives, sometimes intertwined into every single part of our life, and you can't get away from it, and life is about human connection, then I think we need the people at work too. So people, relationships with those people, that's our mirror back onto what we're doing ourselves. And I think leadership is successful if you're a leader by just the nature of how you're living. So I think some of us lead people, but all of us need to lead ourselves as people too. So I think like being authentic and committing to something larger than yourself and integrity are good benchmarks for being an effective human. So I think we should keep people around.
Well, and I totally appreciate your commentary around congruency, essentially, right? It's, when you have that, then it helps you to continue to live with integrity and to hold yourself up. People rise to the level we expect, including ourselves, but we stop where we tolerate. So if we tolerate mediocrity, that's what we get out of ourselves and others. Yeah. Love that, Abby. That's great. So if you had a whole group of people, a whole group of leaders right here, right now, what piece of advice about communication would you give to them?
Oh, well, I wonder if I'll take my advice here. I would say less is more. But, I think after years of learning what type of communication works, I marveled at how often you have to repeat basic things and let simplicity reign. I still believe make it as simple as you can, repeat key ideas. It took me a while to learn you have to repeat these again and again. You can't assume someone's listening or they heard you just because you said it, right? You can't just because they're there. You never know what was going on in their mind at the time, so you do need to repeat yourself. But I think once a trick, something you can do when you're communicating is ask someone to tell you back what they heard you say. I think that's really important. So you always get a lot of fun learning and insight there. And once you get your message across, I found now that communication is really about listening back. So our communication isn't effective if we're not using it to bridge some sort of gap and listening to what they heard, listen to what they're saying, how they see the situation or the world. And understanding how to cross that bridge to them in words that will be most impactful, I think is really, like, that's where we get our comprehension, our connection, it blooms from there. So I think a lot of people listen to someone else with their own agenda in their head, waiting for them to stop so they can talk again. And I've learned it's better to listen with the intent of understanding and then speak genuinely after. So I would say, and one more, even though I said less is more, so hard, but get comfortable with silence. I think that's a really good communication challenge. And if you don't know what to say, stay quiet.
Yeah, my mom used to say, if you have nothing nice to say nothing at all.
There's that, it's better to remain silent and be thoughtful than to speak up and remove all doubt. I don't like to admit that, but if you're not sure, get comfortable. And one other tip I would say is, to learn how to respond instead of react in communication. If you find you would not respond the same way, and when you're like in your best state of mind, then you shouldn't be responding that way ever. So like, respond to things, don't react to things.
Again, you're really requiring people to hold themselves to a higher level here. So I appreciate that, and I sure hope the audience appreciates the value of being able to think about themselves through the lens of how am I leading myself and how am I stacking up versus how would I lead others. So
right.
I appreciate that. What other successful business leaders like yourself, in other words, what other Abby Leibowitz is out there should be on the show, right? Who else is out there carrying the bag, making it happen every day?
I would say the person who exposed me to ontological leadership is Brandon Craig of Onticore. So he has a lot of things to say. He gave me great lessons at a very pivotal time in my career. And he has a lot of faith in the people he coaches, which is just really inspiring. It's good to be around his energy. I would say another one is Heidi Allen. She's currently with Concinity Company in Nashville, and she's inspiring and motivational. And has a cool software for C-suite company out there. She's making it happen.
Well, I love that. Thank you. All right, magic question number 6. Bring us home, Abby. Tell us about your favorite boss or teacher who's really influenced you.
Okay, well, I would have to say my favorite boss or teacher is actually time. So I think time is what gets us to act and create things. It bosses us around. It makes us appreciate it. So I think the appreciation is the lesson. Once you allow time to teach you, you can feel different ways about the same type of situation depending on the timing, right? Like, which usually relates to mood or other non-related stress. It's so freeing when you start to realize that. You realize that reactions are learned, they're a choice, and you get to work towards the responding, like I mentioned earlier. I just think time is the ultimate boss. It doesn't stop for us, and we have to learn to navigate it and make it work for us. And so just that perspective with time, and it keeps us accountable. So I would say time is both a boss and a teacher for me.
That's amazing. And what's even more amazing, Abby, is I've done these interviews now over 80 times, and this is yet another different answer to this very simple question, which again, you would think if at this point the repetition would be more than the norm, and it just isn't. So I just really appreciate that, and I appreciate you taking all the time to think through your answers and provide not only your thoughts but a couple of how-tos and tips to bring that alive. If people wanted to reach out and find you and introduce themselves, how can they find you?
Sure. Well, company is Call Experts, so callexperts.com, our website, and anyone can always email info@callexperts.com. Easy enough.
That's awesome. Well, I'm sure somebody will reach out to you because we have an audience that's growing every day, and they get super excited about our guests. So again, it was a pleasure to have you on the show, and we look forward to having you again very soon.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. And this is Stacey McKibben with the Master Communicator Podcast. For more ideas and insights, please do go check us out at www.concilioteam.com. And we look forward to seeing you again next time. Take care.